The story is Orthodox Jews threaten motherfucker. Oh, crap. Oh, well, demonetization. I am so sick of censoring myself. Let me tell you, like, I've been using, this is a side note. I spent some time on BitChute recently, like actually subscribing to a lot of the channels that that I'm used to watching on YouTube and browsing around on BitChute and just trying to see if it would fit me as something that I could use more than YouTube so that I could get away from YouTube. And that was cool. Like, there's not many content creators that are mirroring their content over there yet. We are one, by the way. Disenthrall.me/platforms if you want to find our link to our BitChute account. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. The thing that was really mind-blowing over there, it was like an epiphany. It was a sudden realization to like the nature of something that I had not been aware of previously. If you surf around on BitChute for any amount of time, especially if you turn the content filter down to where you can see the content that is the full content that is available on BitChute, and if you start even if you don't watch the crazy content, even if you just subscribe or look at some of the content of some of the people that have gotten kicked off of all of some of the other major platforms for most of the time innocuous reasons. The people that no longer publish to or care about YouTube monetization or getting kicked off of YouTube because they already have, they're free in a way that we're not used to watching and we're not used to experiencing. They're using language and they're talking in ways that is fearless and uncensored. And certainly in some ways raw and, you know, it's going to offend some people. But the realization that I came to, the epiphany that I had, was that I hadn't noticed that I had lost that content. I hadn't noticed that content had just slowly faded away over the past 10 years as I've gotten used to going to YouTube for all of my content. The thing, like, I pay attention to when I'm being manipulated. I watch out for being manipulated. I'm not oblivious. I think I'm self-aware, and I catch it when it's happening. But this one slipped by, and it caught me off guard, and it hit me in the face when I was watching BitChute, and I was watching some content that I would never have been able to see on YouTube. And I was like, I guess my first reaction was, wow, Zekamaru TV donated. Thank you for the donation. It is also great to see that the other donation page is functioning. I appreciate your donation. Thank you, sir. The first feeling I had was like kind of like a relief. Like, oh, wow, this is what it's like to be free in this area, free in my media consumption. This is what it's like to get the content from the creators that I want in the way that they want to give it to me, not in the way that Google wants them to give it to me. And then the second one was like, this was the self-awareness kicked back in, and the self-awareness made me realize that, thank you, Rika, I like that GIF too, was the self-awareness kind of made me realize that I didn't catch this happening to me. I didn't realize, I didn't feel the Jim Jesus. What's up, man? Thank you for your service. Good to see you, man. Thank you for the $2. I appreciate it. The thing that freaked me out was that I didn't see it happening when Google was doing it to me. Google has limited the content that we're all used to seeing, and we don't see it because it's subtle, because the content creators that we think are giving us their content in the way they want the content given to us is being subtly changed to be allowed by Google to give us that content. And I knew, I mean, like, if you'd asked me before if I thought that was happening, I'd be like, yeah, sure, it's probably happening. I think I'm aware of it, but I'm telling you, no. Just go to bitchute.com, surf around, listen to some of the creators. Whether you agree with them or not doesn't matter. That's not the point of the story that I wanted to talk. That's not the point of what I wanted to say here. The point is, I want you to experience hearing somebody say something that isn't approved by Google, that Google wouldn't approve. It's a powerful feeling. It's an important feeling. It's just go do it. If you haven't spent time on BitChute, please go do it. Thank you again, Jim Jesus. I appreciate it. Now, back to this story. So again, we're not going to get into the vaccination debate either way today, other than to talk about what happens when the state tries to force something on us. So here's the story. This is in New York. A group of anti-vaccination activists, including Orthodox Jews, fumed on Friday after the New York State Legislature passed a bill that will eliminate religious exemptions as a valid excuse not to vaccinate children, according to the New York Post. Hours later, the bill was signed into law by Governor Cuomo. The New York State Legislature and Governor Cuomo signed a bill into law that eliminates religious exemptions as a valid excuse not to vaccinate children. The language is so mirror world. Let me try and reconstruct it with actual straightforwardness. Governor and legislature passes law demanding that you let them inject chemicals into your children. And unless a doctor says that you don't have to let them. So basically, if it can't be religious anymore, it can't be personally, strongly, closely held beliefs anymore. It can't be, self-autonomy, self-ownership. It can't be, personal ethics. It can't be private property. It can't be, I own this body and I get to choose what happens to it. That's all gone. Basically, you got to find a doctor now. And if the doctor doesn't give you your freedom pass, if the doctor doesn't give you your hall pass, the government is going to be able to force that stuff on your children. Get out of New York. That's like the subtitle of this whole thing. It's insane. Okay, let's read on. As a group of, shouting from the gallery, one man dressed in traditional Orthodox Jewish attire threatened, "We'll be back for you, Jeffrey," referring to the bill's sponsor, Jeffrey Dinowitz. It was kind of quiet. I hope you guys could hear that. He was like, "We'll be back for you, Jeffrey." Another protester shouted, "Motherfucker," that wonderful word appears again, along with other profanities. That's why I brought up BitChute, because I am tired of worrying about Google and YouTube and what I say. Like, now that I see BitChute, like, I want to be able to express myself freely and play the music that I want to play and talk about what I want to talk about and say the words that I want to say without worrying about Google and the massive monstrosity that it is. And I was trying to figure out how to do that. Like, all the eyeballs are on YouTube. Like, most of you guys are watching on YouTube. You can't stream to BitChute yet. So we don't have good places yet. Anyway, I'm digressing again. Ugh. It's just frustrating. Another protester shouted "motherfucker" along with other profanities. Opponents of the legislation ending non-medical exemptions for vaccination shouting from the State Assembly gallery, "Shame!" and other profanities. Quote, "The government does not have the right to interfere with my personal religious beliefs," said one woman, quoted by WLNY, who added that, quote, "We will not vaccinate. What's going to happen is we're going to either homeschool or we're going to move out of state." She probably should have done that already. Dinowitz felt that his safety, Dinowitz is the sponsor of the bill, right? Yes, Dinowitz is a sponsor of the bill, felt that his safety was at risk following the vote. Quote, "I'm sure the hallways are very dangerous for me right now," said Dinowitz after the display. "I think it's very sad that people who are up here in the name of religion were acting anything but. Judging by the way some people behaved, and judging by the threats that we heard from some people, it would be prudent to exercise some caution. The bill was never about religion," Dinowitz added. "It was about public health. As I said on the floor, it's going to protect children's health. And we'll never know which children don't catch a terrible disease, but we'll know for this bill it will protect children." Then Governor Cuomo said some stuff about the science being crystal clear that we're not going to talk about right now. This is my statist cup for the day. Please forgive me. It's just huge. You can't really tell how large this cup is. It's a massive cup, okay? That's why I'm using it, not because it's got a Texas flag on it. I don't ever remember said Dinowitz. Quote, I don't ever remember in all my years here the screaming in the assembly chamber and the disruption in the assembly chamber. People yell and scream outside, and that's fine. That's fine. But the disrespect, not to me, forget me, to the institution, to all the members of the state, was frankly a disgrace, said Dinowitz. And these are the religious people? Shame on them. Shame on them. So that's the point I wanted to make. That's the thing I wanted to talk about. The contempt and surprise and shock of these lawmakers as they exert government control over people's personal medical decisions, as they inflict themselves and their will and their opinions on people's bodies against their consent. And then when the people don't lay down, roll over on their backs, prostrate themselves, and thank them for protecting them. When the people push back and say, no, you motherfucker, in this case, we're gonna get you later, is what they said. Stuff like that. The surprise and the shock and awe. These people really think that they should be able to write magic spells, to scribble on paper, forcibly control people's lives, and then have their institution respected. I mean, you got to be pretty ignorant. You got to be pretty ignorant. What do you think happens? The more involuntary, non-consensual control that they exert over people's lives, how far do they expect the respect? How far do they expect the respect for their institution to stretch? And when they start seeing stuff like this happen, are they seeing it as, I mean, I know he's saying, the halls are probably not terribly safe for me right now. But I wonder if if he's just saying that to like play to the news and to make a story out of it and to virtue signal his victim status. Or I wonder if he really knows that if he pushes it far enough, that people are not going to put up with an infinite amount of involuntary, coercive, non-consensual control over their lives and bodies. And if it comes to it, how do you think the people are going to put a stop to it? Dinowitz? I'm going to leave that as a ... because we're not on BitChute today.